solo. Dorothea Williams, ¿te lo puedes creer?
Amigo, va a hacerse daño.
¡Wow! ¡Perdón! ¡Ah!
I was curious, is the opening credits scene hand-drawn? When Joe falls from the great beyond to the great before?
No, it's computer. It's just being used in a very different way than we usually do, and I think points a direction where we could push things even further. It's really exciting. That was a fun part of the film to do.
We did try to make it look like the storyboards that the artist had drawn. So that was definitely the inspiration, the look.
Well, I was wondering, have you ever considered that Pixar doing a traditional animation movie, or do you think CG is your thing, is in your DNA?
Well, it is, but we have done a couple of short films that are hand-drawn, quite a number. I don't know that we have the infrastructure to do an entire feature, because, it's a specialty thing. There are some people in CG who can hop back and forth, but not everybody, and we'd need to set up a big production chain that was quite unlike anything. I think we'd be willing to do it if the right idea came along.
The first time I saw the movie, I didn't see the Pizza Planet van, but what should I look for in the second time I watch it? Should I look for maybe a red panda, maybe an Italy tripod?
Yeah, there's a little reference to the next film about Enrico's film, Luca. There's all the traditional stuff, that is in there, and I don't even remember where it all is. Do you guys remember, Kemp? Do you remember?
Think of the place where everything is at.
Oh yeah, the Hall of Everything, or the Hall of You.
The Hall of Everything.
Okay, so
we kind of just put everything in there.
But I think there's also other places throughout the film that they put all of those inside jokes too.
Yeah.
Got to get a list.
Soul is a really big step forward for the studio, as it was Coco in terms of diversity and inclusion. What are the next steps for the studio? What would you like to achieve in this matter?
Well, I think for better or worse, this film didn't start out with that goal explicitly. But when we settled on jazz, it became obvious to us that jazz is African-American invention and contribution to the world. It felt like our character should reflect that. As then I learned more about representation, and this whole studio has, I think we recognize how important that is, and we are making huge efforts to try to continue to push on those boundaries to really represent everybody from all walks of life. Growing up white, I didn't recognize how much that affects you and how much seeing yourself on the screen sends a message. The challenge is, of course, doing it in a way that doesn't feel forced or like there's an agenda, because I think the audience can smell that too. It has to come naturally, and I think one of the many ways we can push that is just to have more filmmakers that are involved that are from different backgrounds, which we're trying to do.
I think progress, it has been slower than anyone would have hoped for, but you can't be heavy-handed. It has to also fit into what the movie studio does and does so well. And I mean, from where I'm sitting, even in the few years that I've been working with Pixar, I've already seen the changes behind the scene. I think people, have a lot to be optimistic about in the coming years in terms of the diversity of storytellers who are in the pipeline, not just race, but also gender. Animation itself has changed a lot in the past 20 years. If you went to the primary art schools that have generated so many animators 20 years ago, it would have been all white guys. Now you go to those same art schools today and you see women, you see people of color. So I think now that all those people are working their way into the pipeline, it is rising up to the top ranks, and you're seeing a wider range of storytelling, and you're going to see a lot more of that.
I wanted to ask you, last week Pixar unveiled a huge amount of new projects. Two of them are revisiting characters from previous films. I'd like to know if you would like to revisit another character or give another character, for example, from Soul or another film of the studio, a second life, thanks, for example, to Disney Plus.
Well, we have a couple of things that are being done. I mean, really, the answer to your question is it all stems from the idea. So unlike, I know a lot of studios are like, okay, we need to produce this or that, and it's sort of bottom line driven. For us, we are asking our filmmakers, what's intriguing to you? What speaks to you? What do you want to say? And sometimes people come back with ideas, hey, I want to do a sequel to this or that, or I want to do a streaming series based on this character. And that's great. We're trying to maintain a balance of new original with some amount of things that our audiences love, as I said in the presentation. So we'll continue to do our best to try to make sure those things are in balance.
Soul, de Disney y Pixar.
¿Pero qué?
Tranqui, están bien. Aquí las almas no se destrozan. Para eso está la vida en la Tierra.
Disponible en exclusiva el 25 de diciembre.